You know, most of us worry about how an employer is going to evaluate us, but I'm here to tell you that you should be thinking about how to evaluate your future employer, especially if you're thinking about the construction industry or the electrical industry, any of those industries. Particularly important to know, what am I looking for? Thanks for watching us here on WowBiz TV. I'm Lynn Hinderrocker, and I'm here at Interstates in Sioux Center, Iowa with Jessica Weiss. Now, Jessica, you are in charge of like project integration, helping point of clients go across the company and find the resources and help they need. Is that right?
Correct.
All right. And you've been here at Interstates for like a year or so, right?
A year, yes.
All right. So things are kind of still fresh for you.
Yes.
Let's think about how to evaluate an employer. Obviously, you're happy here with Interstates, but let's go back a year or so, right?
Right.
And think about the things to really think about. Right off the bat, talk to me a little bit, because they have projects all over the country and there are engineers that are out working in the field, and you have to make a deliberate decision about that, where you're going to be, right?
Right.
Talk to us about that.
Lifestyle is a huge deal when you consider where you're going to work. The construction industry in particular is a mobile career field, so you don't often get the same site of work. So
Right.
You have to choose whether you want to be in the office or if you want to be on site traveling with the job.
Absolutely. So lifestyle, fundamental.
Correct.
Not only what you're going to be doing 8 to 5, but after work, where are you going to be?
Right.
How are you going to spend your discretionary time and your money?
Right.
And if you're out of town, that's a different lifestyle than if you're working close to corporate headquarters.
It is, correct.
All right, so you made a decision about that.
Yes.
You learned about that. All right, so what would be something else above and beyond lifestyle? That's a good one to begin with. How about age range, for instance?
Something that I was told when I first started looking for a job was you should evaluate the gaps in age. So if there's if upper management is older and then the age gap is large between entry level and upper management, you often have to wonder where the middle employees are.
Okay, now let's back up. This is very interesting. This is I've never heard this before, but it makes great sense. If there are a lot of people there at the younger age, we'll say in their 20s or early 30s.
Correct.
And then you have managers in their, we'll say 50s, 60s, that time frame.
Right.
And it's difficult to get people in there with medium levels of experience, maybe in their 30s and 40s.
Right.
You're saying that that's something you should pay special attention to, right?
Correct. It's a huge consideration.
And what would that mean? What would be the implications of that? I don't quite get that.
It would mean that there's not a lot of training for those people from entry level to upper management.
So it's not a money thing. It's a training thing, huh?
Correct.
Okay. As if the company didn't give them enough training in the early years, so they drifted away. Is that where you're going with that?
It would often determine whether or not they invested in their employees.
Ah, which is a related but kind of a separate consideration as well. Is just how does the company invest in their professional skill, right, in their
Correct.
development?
Yes.
What would be some examples of that, please?
Currently, or before, I was offered a position as an EIL. It's Excellence in Leadership. So I was offered the opportunity to advance my leadership abilities by taking a class that was offered by the company that I work for.
Okay, so Excellence in Leadership, that's the
Correct.
EIL thing.
Yes.
And you were given the opportunity to take a leadership class?
Correct. And as a young employee, I've been
was
here
kind of
less than a
unusual,
year.
maybe.
So
Yeah. And what realizations did you have there before we go on past this? Because I find this so interesting. I've led many of those kinds of classes. And how did you feel about it? And how did you feel about yourself when you got done with it?
I felt, when I got done with it, I felt empowered as an employee. I felt like the company really wanted us to be here, and they weren't just blindly hiring you and expecting high turnover rates.
Really?
Yes.
Interesting. So it really developed a sense of loyalty to the company.
Yes.
And also developed a sense, perhaps maybe your self-esteem or your self-respect increased as well.
Correct. Especially as a young employee straight out of college, it was very vital to knowing I belong here. So.
And there all of a sudden you feel like, hey, I might be a leader, right?
Correct.
Absolutely. Okay. Well, let's keep going. This is really getting good here. What are some other aspects that if I'm a judge and employer, what are the things we've talked about? The lifestyle, we've talked about their investing and different things. What other things? How about safety? Is it a safe place to work, for instance?
Yes, safety is a huge factor. You should look at the reputation of the company going into it. Hearsay, it should be in their core values at some point.
Because they've got to protect the employees.
Right.
Obviously, employees can't be productive or be motivated
Right.
to give 110%, so to speak, if they feel like they're going to be taking some form of danger with themselves, right?
Yes. And they offer, most construction companies should offer a OSHA course as well as some site safety on each job site you attend.
Now let's elaborate on that, because some people don't even know what OSHA is, all right? They're like a safety regulation agency, national agency?
Yeah, it's the Occupational Safety and Health Association.
Okay, yeah, no, I think that's very good. And so they make sure that there's safety in the workplace, but especially in the construction industry, right?
Correct.
I mean, that's huge consideration.
It's one of the most dangerous.
They don't want you out on the
occupations,
field if you're not ready to be there.
Right.
Fantastic. Now that's a part of how a company operates. It's their kind of the style, the things that we do around here that define us. I guess I call it culture, right? Correct. Talk to me about culture, and can somebody who's young and they're just coming into some company, I mean, do they really, how can they look for culture? What does it really mean, and who cares, really?
It's their core values that they present as a company. You can look them up and find them on their website, but really something that you should pay attention to is when you're in an interview, whether or not they really stress the culture and they emphasize it to the people that they're interviewing.
Can you give a couple examples of things that a company would typically emphasize in their culture? I mean, like integrity or follow through or respect. I mean, those kinds of things. Is that what you're talking about?
Right. We had some of the ones that were really special to me where family was one of our core values.
Wow.
Dependability, quality, trust, and integrity.
Huge, huge, huge. The trust one is so interesting because today people are so cynical about each other,
right?
You know, and don't really believe anything that anybody says. And particularly these components about culture are so important when we're in a stress situation.
Right.
It's easy to talk about them, but when you're under stress, out in the field or financial stress or whatever, that's when these things kind of come to the surface, huh?
I think trust would tie in with safety a bit. If you don't trust the people you work with on site, then
absolutely
safety would suffer.
You're unsafe if you can't trust the people around you.
Right.
Fantastic. Well, Jessica Weiss, you are so good at integrating projects, getting resources, and helping the customer kind of work with one person and pull everybody together. I really applaud your work and your ability to talk about, and you've only been here a year and you're reflecting fairly thoughtfully what it's like to choose an employer in a conscientious way. Thank you so much for doing that, and thanks for watching us here on WildBiz TV. I'm Lynn Hinderrocker in Sioux Center, Iowa with Interstate.